Hello, dear viewer. Welcome to this program. Just to ask you, have you ever imagined yourself in jail and those you love at home? And they're scared, they're worried. They don't know what will happen next. You are the breadwinner and they cannot get help because you cannot offer the help they need. That's why today we bring you this program. And on the program, we have the director for Afifa to tell us more about Afifa, Dr. Joseph Okuya, who is also the executive director of the organization. Welcome, Dr.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the show.
Thank you.
I have heard a lot about you, about Afifa. So tell us, what is Afifa?
Afifa is an acronym that stands for Advocacy for Incarcerated Families. And Afifa was born sometimes late 2019, 2020. I happened to live around a correctional facility, and I would see convicts come in and leave being discharged from prison. And then at one time, I was included on the discharge board for that facility. It was within Western Kenya.
What does that discharge board do?
A discharge board looks into cases of convicts who are about to end their term and work out the degree to which they have been corrected. And it also does assist with the initiation of reintegration back into society.
Okay. So now you are on the board. You are included on the board.
Yeah, I
Yes.
served as a board member because I lived within that community.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're serving on the board, and you're dealing with convicts or soon-to-be ex-convicts. Tell us about that.
The people who are dealing with actually were people who are remaining with about 3 months to ending their term. And so we would interview them, assess how they have progressed in the correctional process, and then we would, working together with the welfare department of prison, we would try to see how prepared they themselves were and how prepared their community of residents was prepared to receive them. And so we would work with various kinds of termers, either those who have served long terms, those who have served short terms. And so it's out of that I got concerned.
Yeah.
That as a discharge board, we were only concerned about the end of the process.
Okay.
I wondered about the beginning of the process. And then in between the arrest, conviction, and this end where they're supposed to be integrated back to society. I was curious about what happens in between. I mean, where were their families? How were they doing? Was anyone concerned about them? Because when we are doing reintegration and you go to the family, you're taking the ex-convict back home. You go and see how home looks like.
So sorry to cut you, but what is the process like when from the time their term is over and now they have to go home? What happens?
When the reintegration process is well set, usually it is an interplay between those who are going to receive the ex-convict at home,
Yes.
including the national government administrative officers like assistant chief, the chiefs, together with the welfare.
Yeah.
And they need to know who is remaining at home. Have they been informed that their kin is about to be released from prison? What's the feeling of the community about that ex-convict? And so when that is prepared well, it's easier to get a person reintegrated into the community.
Okay.
But if it's not, sometimes it's difficult to have a smooth reintegration. It could be a danger both to the ex-convict or even to the community where they're going.
Okay.
So it's the process would involve a liaison between the people on the ground, meaning his community, and the prison or the correctional facility officers, especially the welfare department.
Yeah.
And because I was serving on the discharge board, I was privy to the information that and the activities that were being carried alongside the reintegration in the reintegration process. I got interested and volunteered to participate directly with the reintegration process of that correctional facility.
While you were working with the reintegration and now it's direct, were you in contact with the families of the ex-convicts or just the ex-convicts?
Initially, we used to have to use the information we'd get from the welfare department. But as I started volunteering to move together with the team as they got back to the community. During the reintegration, especially the returning sessions when the ex-convict is being taken back home, I would meet the family members.
Yeah.
I would see them. I would see the distress sometimes that they have, or the relief they have. Their kin is come back home.
Yeah.
I would see fathers get back to their families and they don't even know the children they left behind. Some of them are really grown up.
Yeah.
I would see them look around and feel like they're in a strange place. They don't know where they are. But what really drew my attention was the children and the wife.
Okay.
And you'd see some would burst out crying, receiving them, and when they would be asked to speak, they would voice
they
and
would
say,
cry.
expressing how hard it had been for them to stay without their spouses.
Okay, how were the conditions of the families now? The father has come back home, but even before the father came back home, what were the possible conditions, living conditions of these families?
One could see during the ceremony for receiving the ex-convict that this family was living in troubled circumstances.
Yeah.
It's just like if a parent has been away from a child who has had an uncomfortable encounter and you come back home and the child rushes to your arms and they are crying, that would be comparable to that situation. And so you would see like some of the houses are in pathetic conditions. Like you find thickets overgrowing around the homestead, disorganization, and you'd see and sense this is a lonely woman, an isolated woman.
Yes.
And the children would not even know what is happening because they don't know this guy who's coming home.
Yeah.
And they would look at him strangely, and you would see that it's going to require a long process to have to harmonize and make them appreciate each other, get them to know each other, and to onboard one another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the ex-convict. When this person comes home, what was the reception like? Because you worked in the reintegration board, and now you are in the team that helps them go back home. What was the reception like? Maybe the family, the society, the neighbors?
Strangely, because it was so synchronized, and I'm really grateful because that gave birth to Afifa, the idea and thought about Afifa. The officer who was involved with this correctional facility, it's actually the Corinda Correctional Facility Prison in Busia. The then serving welfare officer did a thorough job, and he would make sure that he has tied together the people at home. Sometimes he would go to the extent of reaching out to families that had been offended in cases where it involved another party, talking to them, asking them if they have let go of the offense that was committed to them. And in that reintegration function where we were taking back the ex-convict, he would be there himself, the officer, together with a few other officers. We would have to meet the national government administrative officers who would be there too. We would also have the family members, not necessarily the nuclear family.
The extended
yeah,
family
the extended
too.
family members would be there. Community members would also be there. it would be like a ceremony, a celebration of sorts.
Yeah,
They would
yeah.
make food, people would take food. After that, there would be speeches which people would give. And in that environment, you would see a kind of acceptance. People would like make up and kind of they are accepting this guy back into the community. And so it depends, and that time dependent on the arrangements that had been made to ensure that everybody is on board.
Yes.
And if everybody is on board, it was easier, much easier to do the reintegration. Even the ex-convict would feel he's coming back to a community that is ready to receive him.
Okay.
And that would be a good message being sent back by the welfare department that the person they sought to reintegrate was well received in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have talked of someone who comes home and is received well. Are there scenarios where someone is released and now an ex-convict and gets into the society and gets rejected?
At that time, I was working with a group that was really well prepared and was prepping the people well. But long after that, after birthing Afifa, I have come to encounter cases where an ex-convict is released and preparations are not made that are adequate. And when he gets to the community, especially if the offense that led to his arrest and conviction involved like a life, involved like cases of sexual assault, the community is hostile. They have not let go of that. And some of them are actually made cases where they are paying for the blood of the ex-convict. Some have been so bad that the ex-convict has to get an alternative place to go and stay, where his story is not known. And so some can get that bad. And so I didn't encounter during that time, because of the streamlined reintegration process, but I've come to encounter cases after that of families who are excited and happy to want to receive their kin who's been released from prison, but the neighboring community was not ready, especially the offended ones. They don't want him there. They're paying for his blood. They want him either dead or go back. Yeah, or even they want that person to go back to prison. So yeah, I have been able to encounter such.
Okay, thank you. Well, now let's get into Afifa.
Okay.
Right? So Afifa directly deals with families of the incarcerated. By incarceration, meaning they are in jail. They are serving a term. So tell us what Afifa does. What is the connection between Afifa and these families?
I would like to point out that when we talk about advocacy for incarcerated families, I've once been asked, like, that statement in itself means the family is incarcerated. Like, it comes out as if the family is incarcerated.
Yes.
Because you say advocacy for incarcerated families. It's the families.
Jailed families?
Yeah, and they're like, so I had to rush back to correct and say, it's not the families who are incarcerated in the sentence.
Yes.
But at the same time, it also is true that these families are incarcerated, as I'll explain.
Yeah.
So, advocacy for incarcerated families, having been born, therefore, from that encounter, addresses the plight of wives and children of incarcerated people. Alternatively, people look at it as advocacy for inmate families, so that the inmate's family, which still an I anyway, it's incarcerated inmate.
So incarcerated means serving a term.
Yes.
You are in jail.
You are in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, and so the link between the tie between the organization, these families, and the inmate, and we take the inmate to just be a radar that points us to get to his family, because he's serving term.
Yes.
And suffice it for me to be able to say here that some people imagine Afifa is fighting against the criminal justice system.
I was coming to that question.
Yes.
So just hold on to that.
Yes.
Let's first deal with Afifa, with these families. The offender is in.
Yes.
Now with the family, we are coming to the part where, because it's a question that I had. So let's deal with the families and Afifa. How does Afifa connect to these families?
I was trying to draw a path in which we get to the families. We, as Afifa, we do not know where these families are.
Yes.
We just know that there's a family somewhere who are having their kin in jail.
Well, how
But
would
we
you
don't know where they
identify
are.
the family?
And so we use the prisoners who are serving term as our pointers to their families.
Okay. Okay.
And so we have a permit to access these prisoners and then collect the information from them.
Yes.
We have what we call tracer sheets. We get information about the prisoners minimally, because our client is actually the wife and the children.
Yeah.
So from them we can be able to get contacts of their home, where the wife and the children are, and then from there we go and do home visits. We call them because they give us tracer calls, contacts. We call them, and then after reaching them, we can assess the family, talk to them, understand their challenges, their plight, and so that's how we get from the prisoner to his family back at home.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't have a contact, a phone number, but we have a village, we have an assistant chief or chief, and so through that we trace and get back to the convict, the inmate who's serving a term. And so that's how we get to reach them.
The family.
Yes.
Okay, now you're talking about, you've spoken about the wife and the children. There's someone who is in jail, and he was a son to a mom. Okay. And maybe this mom was taking care of his children where the wife is not. Or maybe there's a daughter who left children with the mother. Does Afifa have such client?
We have a wide ranging of clients who we still consider as of interest to Afifa. When we talk about wives of incarcerated families, when we talk about advocacy for incarcerated families, we are looking not necessarily, so we are starting with the prisoner, then we get to the family. At the family, the person we are actually ultimately going to target is the child. So if the mother is there, fine. If the mother is there, who is taking care of the child? And so that brings in quite a number of people, ranging from just guardians or kins that remained behind. That kin may be a grandparent, it could be a sister to the convict. And so those become what we'd look at as being the mother, playing the mother role to those children. And so yes, we have got cases where we have that person taking care of these children as not essentially their mother, biological mother. But we have cases where we find grandparents.
Yes.
We have cases where we find sisters. Or sometimes we even have cases where we find brothers who are taking care of these children. So because our ultimate interest is the plight of the children,
Yes.
we kind of have a bond and a tie and a relationship with that person who's taking care of these children, the convict.
Thank you. Well, now we are looking at families whose loved one is in, mostly the breadwinner, the father. Maybe before I ask the question that I have, let's talk about, there are women in prison whose families are out. Is there a father who has come to Afifa and say, hey, look, my wife was the breadwinner, and here I am with 3 children, 2, 1, and I cannot take care of the child. I need help.
We live in a patriarchal society, majorly, and they tend to come across as being stoic and would not easily come up and say, I've been defeated to do this, so I need help here and there to be supported. However, true to say, we have circumstances where the person who is actually in jail is the mother to the children.
Yes.
Now, Advocacy for Incarcerated Families has taken a bias to address families where we have a male partner in jail. And so by virtue of that, it paints the picture of having the woman out and the children, but the husband
Is
in.
in.
But there are special cases and unavoidable. We have a case where during a domestic brawl, a wife caused the death of the husband. And so she was arrested and imprisoned and served a term. And the husband, because he was dead from that, was buried. And here were children who are related to an incarceration process.
Yes.
But their mother was the one who was in prison. So in such like cases, we normally treat them as special cases. And so what we do is we go for the children.
Yes.
Who is with the children?
Uh-huh.
And we pursue that. If the children are in bad situation and bad shape, we go in irregardless. Sometimes men have this habit of just moving on. They would get someone else to come and stay with the children. And so by virtue of that, they don't turn up easily to come and ask for help. But if we come to learn, sometimes it's even neighbors who come and say that they are reporting these children in a pathetic situation. Would you please look up and see if there's something you can be able to do for the children?
Okay.
We do come in and treat them as special cases, and then find out the best possible support we can be able to give as an organization.
All right. Okay, now this question that I know is burning many here. This is Afifa, Advocacy for Incarcerated Families. And I look at myself as a man and I see my situation, whatever I make is not enough. So I'll have myself arrested and have Afifa take charge and support my family. How do you handle that? How would you tell this is a genuine case and this is not?
I really am grateful to have spent quite some time before Afifa began interacting with the correctional facility. Being in jail is not a Christmas party.
Yeah.
There are lots of freedoms you have to forfeit. The environment of incarceration is not a good environment that one would covet for.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that question has come in when people have imagined that we tend to encourage people to commit crime,
so that they can get help.
And the kids can be able to be supported.
Yes.
That's far away from the case. In fact, what we also try to do, we try as Afifa to do crime prevention, because we tell them, we tell people outside, prison is not a place to go for holiday. There are stringent regulations you have to follow, and there's a way it paints your life, and records are kept about why you went to prison and that, and it has got a sense of inhibitory mechanism in itself.
Yeah.
And so we at Afifa don't worry much about those people who might want to take the stand that we are abetting crime. Ideally, we are not. No one feels happy to be jailed, just that their children should be supported out here.
Yeah.
And we try to make people realize what they are doing to their children, they are doing to their families. It's not good, it's not fair. If a person becomes a habitual offender, and that, as much as they are arrested and incarcerated, their families go through that pain every time they are incarcerated. Every time they get into jail, a tag is put on them themselves. And it takes them back in life, actually. And so, well, we cannot say that people will not look at that and say this is an easier way out. Some might, but the general opinion would be like, it's not a good place to be, because people love to be free. And so sacrificing your freedom that you may be helped as a family is strange.
Weird.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you so much. So our time is up, but we are hoping that on the next program we will delve into Afifa as an organization. What does Afifa do? How can someone get help? What kind of help can one get from Afifa? As we end this program, I'll just ask you to say a word to the person who still enjoys their freedom today, to the person who still has their father or mother around them today, to the person who maybe is seeking help and cannot find help in the society. Yeah.
Prison is not a party place. And I would like to say to anyone out there who is contemplating crime, the freedom you have comes at a cost. And if you let go of it, there's a price to pay for it. And for those ones who are out there and they have their incarcerated people and are desperate for support and help, I think hanging there is a good thing to do. Hanging there is a good thing to do because some might want to be tempted to abandon their families and leave their children and go away if they're wives. I would encourage them to just stay put. Some help will come their way in forms of an organization or some people who, after we have created an awareness and something we are really doing, people will start seeing the need to support families who are left outside there while their kids are serving a term. Word is spreading around. We are interested that anyone who hears these and listens to this should be able to go out and encourage people to change their minds and have the mentality of supporting families of the incarcerated. And so anyone there contemplating crime, anyone there taking lightly their freedom, I think I would encourage them to take a second thought and consider valuing more the freedom that they have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for being with us on this program. I'm looking forward to learning more, getting much more. It's interesting how an organization can come up with a very, I can say, an idea that is not so popular, but it's in to help the society. Thank you so much, dear viewer, for joining us on this program. I want to believe that you have learned something, and on the next program, we will be learning more about this organization called Afifa. I'm Tabitha. See you on the next program.